Call me as soon as you get this. Oh, and don't tell Ricky about it, okay? Let's just keep the song between us for now.
There's trouble in paradise for Ricky and Nini, and Gina makes a decision about staying or going. So let's break down season 2, episode 6 of High School Musical, the musical, the series, and find out just what happened. What's going on, Wildcats? Lisa here, and it is time to discuss another episode of HSMTMTS. This episode is called Yes and, like the popular improv exercise. And we get to see a lot of characters finally expressing how they are truly feeling in various ways, which means there's a love connection, but also one relationship that may be hitting a rough patch, and much more. Also, just gotta give major props because every episode, someone has really shined when it comes to singing in their solo songs. This time, it is Julia Lester and her beautiful version of Home from the Beauty and the Beast stage musical. It is so good. It almost brought me to tears, kind of like The Climb in the last episode, but I didn't. I'm good at my emotions, but it was great. Anyway, I'll stop wasting time, so let's dive into this episode. So we start this episode with Miss Jen having gathered everybody at school for an intensive weekend acting workshop. The kids are watching a teaser video North High has made for their show and put on Instagram, which of course stars Lily dressed up in the iconic gold dress as Belle, and we finally get to meet Antoine, the French exchange student who will be North High's Lumiere. I mean, just looking at them, you can see that they are what I guess a movie version would be. Antoine's actually a French exchange student, like he's French, playing Lumiere, it's perfect, even though in real life the actor's not French. And Lily looks like a Disney princess, right? So yeah, now Miss Jen knows that they're gonna see this video, they've gotta step it up a million times. So that's why they have this workshop. And everyone's just freaking out because North High has so much money, it's bought them the best costumes, the best effects to go with the show, and everything. The one person, though, who is really hit hard by this video is Ashlyn, because she feels like now she has to go head-to-head with Lily, who she says looks like a literal Disney princess, and Ashlyn is just feeling all the pressure on her shoulders. We saw in previous episodes that she was feeling some insecurities because she doesn't look like what most iterations of Belle have looked like. She's different, and she feels like that's a lot of pressure. Maybe she'll be judged for that. She just thinks that if they lose the Menkeys, it's gonna be her fault. And yeah, it's really starting to build inside of her head. In addition to this tension, there's the tension with her and Gina because they've been having a tough time communicating lately. It finally comes to a head after Miss Jen pairs them for an improv exercise, and that turns very awkward.
Remember, improv works best when you are all in. If you've got one foot out the door, it does not work.
Well, what is your heart telling you?
I really don't know.
Yes, and...
Yes, and...
Later on in the episode, Gina walks into the dressing room and is about to walk back out, but when she sees Ashlyn there, she decides it's time to reveal the truth to Ashlyn. Gina says her mom got a job offer in Louisiana and she's thinking of joining her. And once Ashlyn hears that Gina's about to leave, it clicks in her brain and she profusely apologizes for being snappy and stuff and just says that that's how she gets when she feels threatened because, you know, she's a Caswell still, and the case of this pressure and competing with Lily and everything has really gotten inside of her head. Well, Gina then says she's thinking of leaving, but also part of the reason is because she did something stupid last semester, and we've heard her say this a few times throughout this season, but I never recalled what that scene was, and we really hadn't seen it. Now we're finally getting to see the flashback to what happened between her and Ricky opening night. So we go back to that scene as Ricky says goodbye to Nini after the show. Gina then walks in and says this.
I wouldn't quit on us if I wasn't moving away. So now, I'm gonna give you a really tight hug, and then I'm gonna walk away with my head held high.
I mean, look, it seems like Ricky honestly didn't read anything else into that, I feel. It was Gina's way of confessing that she really liked Ricky or something like that, but I kind of understand why Ricky would have been oblivious to how Gina was feeling. I think in Gina's head, she blew it up way more because that was so hard for her to do, to even confess any little bit of feeling for Ricky. But for Ricky, having her say, you know, I would have fought for us or something like that, it could have just meant as a friendship, I think, and we've seen that he's kind of like a little bit oblivious. He's a teenage boy, right? So I could see why now in season 2 it makes sense a little more of why he didn't understand Gina's feelings. Maybe that's just me, because I know I've been very hard on Ricky, but I think this kind of lets me cut him a little bit more slack for Gina not being super direct. I think with Ricky, you just have to be super direct and say, look, dude, I like you. Otherwise, he's not gonna understand what's happening. But yeah, Gina basically says she said all this because she thought she was leaving. She was on that plane that was crashing. She'd never have to face Ricky again. And she didn't know that she was, well, coming back to this school. So now in the present, she says she doesn't want to talk to Ricky about it, and Nini's back, so he's happy, and she doesn't want to mess with that. So she doesn't know what else to do but to go to Louisiana, where she thinks it would be a nice break from all this boy drama. Now, on the second day of rehearsals, everyone's doing an exercise where Miss Jen asks them 5 questions that they have to answer in their characters. When it's Ashlyn's turn, she asks if she can sing as her character instead. And then we get that beautiful rendition of Home from the stage version of Beauty and the Beast, a song that I actually wasn't as familiar with because I don't know if I've ever seen the stage version of Beauty and the Beast. I think I've seen Aladdin and, I can't even think another one, but I don't know if I ever saw Beauty and the Beast. But this song was beautiful, and Julia Lester is amazing. But the performance doesn't just move us as an audience, it really moves Gina, who actually puts her phone down because this whole episode she's just been texting and no one can really get through to her. But this song gets through to Gina. They hug after it's over, and Gina decides to stay. So thankfully that dilemma is solved, and now though we have to wonder what's going to happen with Gina. How's she going to handle being around Ricky and Nini? Like, that's gotta be hard to see because we already saw in the Quinceañero episode, she looked down at Ricky and Nini being all lovey and you could see the pain in her eyes. So having to deal with that is gonna be tough, but that's part of high school, unfortunately. But also, she doesn't really know that maybe that won't be the case for much longer because trouble could be brewing for East High's so-called perfect couple. Now, as predicted, Nini is now playing the Rose in the show, and she and Ricky have been tasked with coming up with a brand new original song for the Beast and the Rose to sing. And by she and Ricky, I mean Nini has been given the responsibility of writing the duet, so she gets to skip out of the weekend workshop to work on that. As for Ricky, he's kind of nervous because his dad is having his first official date with Miss Jen later that night, and that is obviously a big change for Ricky. It's the first time he's seeing his dad date since his parents got divorced. So while Ricky has to stay in the workshops for acting, Nini goes to Salt Lake Slices for a change of scenery because she's really having writer's block when it comes to this song. And, well, instead of working on her song, she's kind of just finding a distraction everywhere she goes, and I think she's looking for that distraction. She ends up taking an interest in watching Courtney and Howie interact and basically encourages Courtney to tell Howie that she likes him because she can see the chemistry between these two. Now that night, Miss Jen is in her office when Ricky's dad Mike shows up with takeout.
I'm sorry. I wanted our first official date to be romantic, not shrimp fried rice in my office.
Who says those things are mutually exclusive?
I mean, come on, right? This man seems like a keeper. I would take him. He's just a sweetheart, and I mean, I love it. I love this for Miss Jen. And what do you do though on this date? Well, Mike pulls out a newspaper which has 5 questions to really get to know someone.
What would you ask your future self?
I'd ask my future self if he's still as happy as I am right now.
And it's kind of like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Mazzara. Mike is just edging you out here. Like, he already brought the takeout to her, the office, and said that this was a perfect date no matter what, as long as he was with her, basically. And then the way that the questions fall and he answers them, I mean, it's a pretty good first official date, and it makes me like this couple so much. But this date inspires Miss Jen, and those are the 5 questions that she takes to the students and uses them as a character exercise the next day. Now, when it's Ricky's turn to answer these questions, he basically doesn't take the exercise seriously, cracks jokes, and is just giving major attitude to Miss Jen. She tells him to take a break, and he of course storms out. He then calls Nini to check in on her songwriting, and she's still having writer's block, and he's just like, well, the quicker you finish the song, we can hang out. And it's kind of like, boy, calm down, let the genius work, this takes time. She doesn't need to be at your beck and call 24/7, but he kind of feels like everybody's leaving him, I guess, so he's kind of grasping here, he's desperate. And, well, it kind of seems like Nini is starting to realize this. The day before, when she was at the pizza place, Ricky kept texting her non-stop, and even like 10 texts in a row, which is a little too clingy I would hope for most people. And then they had this stupid argument when she sent him a selfie of her eating pesto pizza and he's upset.
Then he was like, why are you eating pesto and not Hawaiian?
Okay.
And I texted him back that I actually only eat Hawaiian because he likes it, and now he thinks that I'm changing.
And it's like, this boy is so frustrating. It takes me back to the time of high school boys and how you just gotta wait for him to grow up. But yeah, so Ricky's really going through all his feelings, just bottling up inside, and they're gonna explode by the end of this episode. Things have been changing so fast for him. His parents got divorced, he moved, his dad's dating again, his mom is dating again, and his dad's not only dating, but dating his teacher. Then he had Nini decide to go off to another school, didn't tell him until the last minute. They did long distance and she came back, but it's not the same as how things used to be. Like, she has her own stuff going on. She doesn't want to be with him 24/7. So yeah, this boy does not handle change well, but some of that is definitely understandable because divorce is something that's very hard on the children in the family. Well, anyway, thankfully, Ricky later knocks on Miss Jen's door to apologize for his behavior. He understands that he's been short and things have just been getting to him. And well, Miss Jen continues to show how she's actually grown as a character over the seasons and how she's doing things now for the students more so than herself. She tells Ricky that she spoke to Mike and they agreed to not see each other again because the theater is supposed to be a safe place, and she could tell that Ricky didn't look safe there that weekend. And part of me wanted to scream because I was like, Ricky, you're just ruining another thing because I like Miss Jen and Mike together, but a part of me is also like, she totally understands what she needs to do in this certain time. And, you know, there's not saying that down the line, you know, as Ricky kind of matures and he gets used to the idea, he could love Miss Jen and Mike being together. We don't know, but there just needs to be a little bit more space there. But I love that Miss Jen is really putting her students first, and that's a great thing. But I am still rooting for Miss Jen and Mike to have another chance somewhere down the line. But also maybe we have this because it's gonna open the door for Mr. Mazar to finally come in and make a move when it comes to that love triangle, which I would actually kind of love to see because he's like my favorite. He's like me. We're like nerdy awkward. It's like, how do you approach something like this? And I would love to see him try. But anyway, Miss Jen becomes a friend to Ricky and suggests that he really try to talk to his dad, but he's like, that's the stuff I usually talk to my mom about. And she says, well, maybe you should talk to your mom and let her know how you're truly feeling. So hopefully we'll get to see Ricky do that, or if we don't see it, hopefully he does do it off camera to really express what he's going through, because it's not something he should really be holding in. Now, as Ricky's about to leave Miss Jen's office, he does tell her the real question he would ask as the Beast in the future, what he would ask his future self.
I'd ask him if he and Belle were still together.
I'm sorry?
The Beast. That's what I'd ask my future self.
And it seems like Ricky's kind of starting to realize that maybe he and Nini are on the rocks and maybe they won't be together forever. Now back at the pizza place, Courtney is finally getting up the courage to go talk to Howie. And she goes up to him and says flat out how she feels, what kind of woman she is, says, I like you, how do you feel? And well, Howie says that he likes her back, and it's kind of in the cute, nerdy way, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan.
Like a Gryffindor who maybe found his Ravenclaw?
Now Nini is watching this whole little thing she kind of orchestrated go down. She's smiling, and it seems like Courtney taking charge and having the confidence to express to Howie exactly how she is, how she's feeling, to not let her feelings and actions be dictated by him, inspires Nini. She ends up writing her song and heads to the auditorium where she calls Courtney and leaves the song on voicemail. Now the song is called The Rose, which is obviously the character that she's playing, and Nini realized that the reason she was having such a hard time writing this duet was because she was trying to write it from the Beast's point of view. But once she switched it to the Rose's point of view, it started to flow, and I think that's because it's more so mimicking real life between her and Ricky, because judging from some of these lyrics, yeah, it seems like it's definitely touching on this relationship. You know, it's kind of about how the Rose is feeling kind of trapped. Some of the lyrics are like, all my life I've seen myself through your eyes, wondering am I good enough for you. It talks about the feeling of being trapped on a pedestal that he put her on. And you know, how she now won't be confined to his point of view and is breaking through this glass that he put her in, and beauty's from within. So go look up the lyrics, listen to the song. It's beautiful. I would play it here, but I don't want to get, you know, copyrighted or whatever, because they're really sticklers for that, even if you play like a few seconds. But go look up the lyrics. It's a beautiful song written by Olivia Rodrigo, sung by Olivia. It's beautiful. But it looks like Nini has finally found her own voice in this relationship, and she hasn't actually played this song for Ricky yet, so you hear on the voicemail say, you know, keep this between us, I don't want to play it for him yet. So we have to wonder what Ricky's reaction will be when he hears it. And we might get it a little sooner than Nini was wanting. You know, you gotta wonder if Ricky's gonna realize the song's not just about Rose and the Beast, but about him and Nini. But in the back of the auditorium, she doesn't know Carlos has been standing there recording her playing the song, and he is planning on posting it on Instagram because he's running the Instagram, and they really need something huge to fight back at North High because of the video that they posted at the beginning of the episode. And he thinks that this is the answer because Nini's their secret weapon, and you want to get people talking, right? But you don't want to release your secret, that song. You shouldn't post that because that gives away. They can steal something else from you. But I get what's going on here with the back and the forth and the competition. But yeah, those were basically the main events of this episode. We have Nini and Ricky kind of realizing things are changing when it comes to their relationships. We have Gina deciding to stay. And then we have some other little things that happened in this episode. There seems to be a little more promise on the EJ and Gina front, whether it's romantic or just platonic. The friendship, I think it's cute either way. When Miss Jen had everybody pair up for exercises, Ricky asked Gina to pair up, but of course she walks away because she's not ready to handle that right now. And then EJ asks her, and she says, yeah. And then we kind of continue to get to see EJ grow and share more of his soft side, which I liked, because when he answers the question of what book would you want to live inside, well, he answers as Gaston, a book of etiquette, because he knows Gaston could use some manners. And then the question comes of what you would ask your future self. And he says he would ask Gaston if he could ever learn to love anyone after Belle, which this could be interpreted as EJ reflecting on his relationship with Nini, but I think it more so relates to how he was so set on going to Duke. That was his passion in life, and now he's kind of got to find a new passion, a new love to really, to follow. And I think that's what we're going to get to see in the next episode, because the teaser kind of shows that he and Gina are doing the school announcements now, which of course pairs them back together again, which could lead to something as well. What else? Also, while Nini was at the pizza place, Lily was there in disguise, and by disguise I mean she was just wearing sunglasses, and she was with Antoine, and it seems like she thinks East High is plotting against her, so she's on edge, even though we can totally see that she's the one who's getting on their nerves and plotting against them, so this girl is a little cuckoo. And if you needed any more proof about what kind of person she was, she steals the pepper shaker off the table before she leaves. It's kind of like, why would you do that? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the events of this episode. Seems like Ricky's really not dealing with the changes in his life well, and he may be kind of making it worse by not really expressing what he's going through. So I hope we get to a point where he and Nini can actually sit and talk, because it seems like neither of them can really get to that deep part of what's going on. It's kind of like a surface level relationship between these two, and I think Nini's realizing that. And now Nini's ready to stand up for herself. We didn't really see her do that at the acting conservatory, where she seemed like she wanted to, but everybody kept stepping on her. Now she's back in this environment that she knows, but she's grown so much that she's ready to kind of figure things out. And I am glad Gina is staying, and I'm curious how they're gonna handle that. Would Gina go after Ricky again if Ricky and Nini broke up, or she finally realized that she's over that, hopefully, and just move on? Maybe all of them can just be single, and we can just look at the three couples that are in a good place right now. Who do we got? We got Seven Carlos, we got Big Red and Ashlyn, and now we're gonna have Courtney and Howie. They seem to be good couples right now, so maybe the other one should just take a break, maybe for a little bit. I think we only have like 4 episodes left, right? So we'll have to see what goes down, but let's take a look at the promo.
They snuck in here and took our beast mask.
Do you really think they'd steal from us?
Hello, Wildcats. We challenge you to a good old-fashioned dance-off.
It's a contest, Jenny, isn't everything?
It is now.
Okay, so like I said, looks like we're gonna see some EJ and Gina, more of them hanging out together as friends, maybe not as friends, who knows, but EJ really seems to have taken to this AV club stuff, which is really good for him. And we're finally getting to see more now of the North High and East High conflict escalate, as they're starting to steal stuff from each other, and nothing can be solved in a show like this, or a musical, or a dance movie, without a good dance off. And once I saw that in the trailer, I immediately thought of this. But yeah, honestly, I'm kind of excited to take a little break from so much of this heavy stuff that we've been having lately to have a little bit more fun injected into the show with the rivalry between East High and North High, because I feel like that's not as serious, but it's like fun rivalry drama. And I also want to hear just more of the singing, because Olivia Rose Keegan's voice is amazing. So is Andrew Barth Feldman. We need to hear Rowan Banks as how we sing. There's still so much more music that I feel like is coming, and I love the music on the show. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens as the season comes to a close. But what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think Ricky and Nini will break up? Should Miss Jen and Mike give it another go in the future? How will Ricky respond to Nini's song? Let me know all your thoughts, theories, and everything else down below. And after that, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my recaps and other videos, which you can also check out right over here. As always, I'm Lisa. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble. I'll see you next time.